That might work. That might work.
Yeah.
You're all set.
All right, it is February 26th, 1 p.m. Thank you all so much for making the time to come to the Pathways and Gun Violence Advisory Council meeting. Clerks, will you take roll?
Chairperson Miguel Sanchez,
Present.
Co-Chair Corey Jones,
Present.
Co-Chair Diana Garlington,
Present?
Fatima Monacaran. Alan Williams is absent. Detective David Perez,
Present.
Michael Stevens,
Present.
Robert Bailey is absent. James Montero is absent. Lisa Pina Warren is absent. Juan Carter is absent. Michael Holder is absent. And PJ Fox.
Present.
You have 7 present, 6 absent, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Yeah, so obviously a smaller group today will probably have a little bit of a shorter meeting. I know everyone's extremely busy in that capacity on other responsibilities. Thank you to the members of the public for being here. Miguel for our policy office, thank you. And yeah, we'll get started on agenda item number 2. It's just a follow-up conversation regarding CDI funding strategies, progress on mentorship program pilot, and partnerships and advocacy development. Regarding the mentorship program pilot, I know there was conversations for the folks that were here was to do some sort of either like working group or subcommittee with us elected members of the council to start exploring that a little more further. Do you want to?
Yeah, I was gonna say that, I updated the volunteer sheet from everyone's feedback. So we can, distribute that and get signups. The next step is to like work with like Lisa, the Nonviolence Institute or another entity. To kind of like break out what does the training look like, what is the process, before we get that application out. And I'd say that our schedule, like our timeline to get this figured out should be before the next school year starts. If that makes sense, or before when the summer hits, right? We can get it figured out by the time the summer hits. We can help when the snow melts and the activity increases. So yeah, we're reaching out to folks and, you guys, I know you were saying that we might have to do a resolution or whatever, but.
Yeah, what was that? Can we let the record reflect that Robert Bailey has joined us?
So noted.
Thank you. Rosa, were you saying that to do a subcommittee, we need a council resolution?
To formally create a subcommittee. According to Aaron Gardner, but according to Robert's rules, it can be formed with a vote.
Okay.
And you can give the subcommittee discussion only power or voting power. I recommend discussion only, that way the subcommittee can provide reports and then your commission can make votes as a whole.
So just to catch you up, Robert, we're just talking about kind of next steps on like the mentorship pilot stuff that we've been chatting about the last couple of meetings. I mean, for the most part, I think Detective, you mentioned that things have gotten slightly better. I can't find something.
They have been quite down, but the code,
Yeah,
to do that.
You might want to find the code.
The code is a good assistance to us, in matters like that.
Yeah.
So that
and then Val did mention something regarding RIPTA doing direct routes from certain schools to certain neighborhoods, so I think that should also help.
Yeah.
Deter some of those activities or minimize them as much as possible. So I don't know, what do you guys think should be next step regarding?
So if we did official subcommittee, would it also be subject to open meetings
Absolutely.
Would it be, inappropriate for us to do a working group?
What,
That
can
would
you
be,
describe it?
yeah, I'm just thinking if, we are able to schedule the meetings ourselves and meet on our own
No.
versus, okay, so. Then, yeah, then I think not. It's a formal one.
So I think, yeah, we should, probably have, direct conversations with all the members before we like formally vote on anything of that nature.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would probably look like, either us as chairs or, involving our staff members, to progress those conversations, we can chat after to see what probably makes more sense. Does anyone else have any thoughts, questions, concerns, comments?
I just have a question. What did I miss in terms of the CBI funding strategy?
We kind of went straight into mentorship. I think, we're gonna circle back to see what happened. But PJ has some good updates on from CBI funding. You guys all set with like the mentorship stuff? All right, so we will circle back to CBI funding strategies. Do you have anything on that, PJ?
The White House for Gun Violence Prevention has been eliminated. So there's no White House Office for Gun Violence Prevention. DOJ has, obviously, everything's kind of been torn apart. So there are some DOJ grants that are still going. I have not heard, either way, if CBI will be funded directly or if it will just be written into other components of funding. That hasn't come out. I don't know if you've heard anything different, Corey, but the AG's office officially has one grant that's under review, which is our hate crimes prevention grant. So that's the word right now. That's what's happening.
So the grant that you had, that your office had applied for,
Yeah.
So PJ, just for the public awareness, works at the Attorney General's office. There was a grant that you had applied months ago and that.
Yeah, we did not get that grant.
Okay, that's the one.
That was pre-election. New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington DC were the recipients of it. So, the plan is for us to resubmit, should it come out again. I don't think it's gonna come out in the same, with the same language, but hopefully something similar. It's a waiting game right now. For those around the table that are influenced, I mean, I think most of us are, we're waiting the ruling from the federal bench by Friday to see what's gonna happen with the funding that's been affected already, so. We'll keep your fingers crossed.
Have we looked at any private sector funding?
I mean, I have, it's incredibly difficult for the state to go after, private funding. Happy to help out in any way I can with that. I don't have the ability to apply for private funding because it's the way the state is set up.
What about the city?
I mean, there's probably similar challenges, but I think some of the different orgs that are represented here around the table, I think that's definitely probably one of the most feasible pathways to receive funding.
I mean, I would, like, Teddy, in Chicago, their strategy they built, it's like, I wanna say it was like 40% private funding, and obviously it's a different city, different, so who knows how much. But I think once we kind of have ironed out, a strategy and like what our ask is, like I kind of saw the evolution of this group is asking, private funders, other state agencies to come by, tell us about your program, and then we would tell them, like, is there a way to support, at-risk youth that might be in this situation in this program? Like, how would we connect it to this person? So I think this group can play a role in trying to get private funding at the table, but I think the private funder is gonna want to see that we're putting some skin in the game first. So we want to kind of figure out how we can get some money or, make things work, and then ask them to come to the table and match us.
I mean, I think a subcommittee would do that work.
Yeah.
And just target certain private sector, industries
Yeah.
and bring it back to the group. And then develop a stronger strategy from that in terms of putting meat together, skin, whatever you call it,
Right.
and use that approach. I mean, that would be perfect work for a subcommittee.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to get as creative as possible, but. Near future,
Can I ask, someone from the public question? Raymond, is there? Raymond, is there any, update on Skip?
Well, we have a meeting coming up next Tuesday, strategic plan needs to be worked on, and hopefully we'll get that approved. And then after that, it's.
And that's, in that meeting, is that the Skip committee, or is that the committee where you guys,
This is serious.
all right, so it has been formed and.
Oh, yes, yes,
Yeah.
maybe since. May, no, yeah, June.
Any idea when that solicitation will be?
Once the plan gets approved, then it has to go to the policy board. And then goes to BJA, and so, yeah.
Like somewhere in like 6 months?
I couldn't even give you an estimate on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, less than 6 months.
yeah.
Don't
Okay. So Skip is the State Crisis Intervention Prevention Grant that, the Public Safety Grant Administrative Office, PSGAO, which is under the Public Safety Department at the state level, receives from the feds. And so that's like 1.5 million.
Yeah.
And, that is, like, we're gonna have to be creative with it, so that's like, prices or, well, it was for the red flag law, right?
Red flag.
Red flag law, so, like, that's the challenging part with federal dollars, is we gotta make it fit into their framing, but if we can find other funds, that could be, covering a key component like therapy or crisis, response, right?
Just a question.
Yeah.
Explain to me what the funding's for.
The funding we're looking for? I'd say for violence intervention, and, street outreach workers, we should have 15 street. And I think this is a conversation for the whole group, and this is just my opinion. We should have 15 street outreach workers. I think we also need to properly fund mentorship, therapy, and what's the third one? Employment.
So adding to that piece, reason why I asked that question is I really don't think that we should start something new. I think there's so many organizations out in the city of Providence that's doing this work.
Right.
We need to work with them and help them with the funding if we can. Find out what organizations, what they do, bring it back to the board and help them.
Yeah.
I don't think for us to try to do it ourselves, it's just crazy. It's like we have too many people doing it right now.
Right.
So let's support the people that's doing the good work and let's try to give them a hand. That's what I believe.
No, I agree. That's why, Robert is, brings justice assistance at the table, and Lisa brings the Nonviolence Institute, and, our intention was to bring together the stakeholders that are kind of doing the most of this work. But it's even gonna take more than just the stakeholders at the table, right? Because, the biggest pot there, and this is where I wanted to say about the funding piece, there is a bunch of funding already. We just gotta get it connected to the right programs and the right individuals. But DOT trains 8,000 people a year, but there's 1% of our population is, of Providence, what is that, like 1,600 people? We're training 8,000 people. 1/8 of that could train all the people who are committing the majority of the crime, right? So, the question is, how do we get to that targeted group? And, what entities are already there? And then how can we better connect the rest of the infrastructure?
I mean, when I heard you say, including employment in this thing, with mental health, mentorship, I go right to thinking about CTE
Yeah,
as a piece to the employment in terms of grant funding. Job training and employment.
well, you're cooking though, because the
Yeah.
kids are already in school, or they should be in school.
Right.
Right, and so the issue might not even be getting a new funding, but just getting them in class or in a class that they're invested in.
I just feel like, I don't want us to take funding away from program that's already started.
Of course.
Right, no, but if we go looking at funding, right, we wanna make sure that it's going back to those communities that need it, like, I mean, that's what we're doing, like the non-violence, for instance, you know what I mean? I just want, that's.
That's why we have everyone like
Just so-
around the table. And I mean, another important part is, that this group can contribute to responsibilities, identifying the gaps, so like. If there is like a significant need, which there is, all of these orgs to see how this group can, put our brains and resources together to try to complement some of those groups right now.
So that sounds like to me that you're onto something whereby this forum here can be a place where, or a space where all of us nonprofit service providers and community-based organizations can use this space to come together, develop a strategy that comes out of the group and apply for what we need, for what the target is, as opposed to this group doing it.
Right.
Is that what you're jumping?
Absolutely, 100%.
So if we can get all of us as service providers and community-based organizations to sit at the table and say, we're gonna focus on the CBI thing, let's go to work. As opposed to trying to do things piecemeal and use each other as competition.
Right.
This space can be used as a place where we can alleviate that.
Yeah.
So
If
why
we
don't
can
we-
help, if we can get the money.
Exactly.
We need to bring people together.
Well, no,
We gotta get money.
bringing together is easy, but to work together is what I'm saying. It's where the difficulty
And
is.
we talk about jobs, when you talk about jobs, that's when you bring the union,
Right,
to come in, you bring them in to be able to say, hey, here's this job that we have, do we have groups that might wanna go?
that might be the perfect.
Well, we have a,
Bless you.
God bless you.
we have a black man who's developed his own 501c3 that is focused on CTE, particularly for youth, high school and adults to segue into job training. He's doing the job training. He's developing the job training program himself. And this is a feeder into electrical. I met with him last week.
So Mark,
Mark Lopes. It's already up and running.
And those youth programs that's out there need to know about it,
Right.
Yeah,
that's the key piece, right?
yeah.
He's 20+ years at electrical. I think he's in senior leadership now. He's starting at the bottom of the barrel. And he broke off into, he's doing his own thing now. It's a very nice problem. He's got his space. There you go, in terms of where money's going.
I know you talk about them, I also talk about the police department doing the mentor program,
Yeah.
mentorship, like they can do mentorship. Like, so maybe young kids might want to become police officers, we don't know that, but if we start doing those mentorships, that's something that's important for us to do, right? No different than the fire department, right?
Right.
Like, we need to get mentorship, that's where we get started for, maybe help those kids that wanna, do that law enforcement or maybe a fireman, when they get older, so. And that's hitting into those youth programs that's already happening.
Have y'all, seen the article about some of the work that's happening with CBI in Baltimore?
Yeah, I see that.
So they had 8, and Bobby sent this to me, they had 8 officers that they transitioned into CBI roles in their police department. And they were able to basically use a revenue neutral model where it didn't cost any extra money, but they were able to see a significant reduction in violence in their city. And keep in mind, Baltimore has tried CBI over 4 to 5 times, and they have failed because the challenge in their city is so great. They tried to gentrify it and just spread the violence out everywhere, so it made it harder to identify and target your population. So that's an extremely challenging city that they were able to implement.
What did those officers primarily do?
I think it was intervention. It was almost like they're almost like street outreach workers or links to different services and programs.
I mean, even just that, we know there's like a significant need for street outreach workers here in Providence, like non-violent street outreach workers, so that's something like good.
So that's kind of like part of my question. How are we actually connecting our youth with all these services? So for instance, shouldn't we have it so that they're connected by the recreation centers, the schools, and like like you said, the community outreach offices? How are we doing it?
Yes, I mean, everything right now is just like word of mouth and every department kind of does their own outreach. So like my name would be like the Jocelyn Rec Center, like they, it's that up to that director and Will Bay to do their. So it's not really, from at least my understanding, like a citywide approach, it's kind of in pockets. And I think that's one of the challenges is how do we make it more accessible to everyone and just like promotion and communication is such a focus for like the council and the mayor's office as well. There is a lot of good stuff happening already. But just getting the word of mouth out and that information to families is something, that should be part of these conversations as well.
Well, there is some, the policy that people use to fix this problem. I mean, we're all familiar with it through the homeless work, right? The coordinated entry system. Right, so you can create like a coordinated entry system, you can create like a decentralized entry system, that's where like. There's different ways to enter, but there's still one kind of avenue or one pathway through every way you enter. That's something I think about like all the time with like, especially with DLT programs. And the challenge is that like those federal requirements and, certain programs become a challenge. But like, is there some type of like system and I know there's been like pages in the past where people have had like, list of services here, but is there some type of system we can build that's, maybe it's a website or maybe it's an entry system that connects a youth, does an assessment and then connects them to the other things that they might need that one provider doesn't have? That's a big question, but I think that if that was the only thing we solved, I think that would be extremely a huge achievement, right? That's a big question.
I don't know so much about the system, but I know that, just in regards to a lot of this mentoring that we're talking about. Group homes, recently I was meeting with one of the heads of the group homes. And I think it might be a little too specific, but I'm a big fan of being too small and that way you don't miss.
Right.
Some of these group homes have as few as 8 kids in them, and it would be, I think, a wonderful way, talking about word of mouth, if we were to start with some of these group homes, they're some of the most at risk, some of the least fortunate of our youth. And I think it's a good place for us to start with connecting them with some of these services. And because we know where they are, it's also easier to track the progress of whatever we're doing if we start with them. Let it kind of roll from there. As opposed to, I know we've spoken a lot about what's going on in Kennedy Plaza and where the hot zones.
Yeah, we can't
Hot zones are different now because of movement, everything else. But these group homes, we know, regardless of whether the specific group of kids changes, the group home is there, and they're always gonna have, quote unquote, at risk youth at these group homes. So I think that would be a great place for us to maybe target as a kind of like a starting point.
I think that's brilliant, because if we can know that we delivered an outcome with these 8 individuals, then before we scale, where we have less, indicators and data of what's happening, and except for at the aggregate level, at least we can have some type of intuition that we're doing something that's positively impacting individuals.
So I guess that would kind of leads into like the next question is like, is there an org around this table that would take the lead in like organizing like all available resources and programs, or is that something this org would, with the help of our city council staff, would put into like material? Because what are we presenting to these group homes? The next question.
I don't
It's
know
a
about-
group discussion.
I don't know about organizing as far as everyone else and bringing everyone to the table, but I can tell you that just within resources that we're already aware of, whether it's Beat the Streets with wrestling, whether it's the work Corey's doing with basketball, Corey's at the nonviolence. That's obviously, as you got, Corey's at what, Charette High School, I think? Charette, yes. Corey's at Charette High School,
Juan Carter, the work that he does,
right, like,
you bring all those people, look at work that Kobe Dennis does, like Kobe does great work, right? So you bring all those people in and see what resource can they get to help those kids, I believe.
and see which ones they're interested in, because we have Lamont over at Gloves Up, Guns Down, and you got
Mhm.
Silas over at Beat the Streets with the wrestling, Corey with basketball and all these other people. If the kids are interested in one thing over another, like, not limited to say, we're gonna work with Beat the Streets. If one of the kids wants to do Beat the Streets, we sign him up, we figure out how he's gonna get there, and then move on to the next kid. How can we get, I don't think we'll get all 8, but it'd be great if we get all 8 of them involved in something that they're interested in. And then, like I said, we can, because of knowing where they are, we can kind of track it back.
Yeah, and even just getting like feedback from those, youth on to see like what they are interested in, or something that is lacking, you know, I'm sure someone and within all of our circles, is able to at least point, those kids in the right direction. That's something I'm really passionate about, is like, you know, like, kids get things, you know, sometimes thrown at them, and they have to participate as a mom or a parent or a group home, like, I think I'm really big on, like, let's empower you to do something that's interesting to whether it's Pokemon trading, toy card collecting, or sport, or art, rapping, music, studio stuff. Definitely is so much out there that.
But my suggestion is that we kind of come up with a list of asks, right? What do we want? If the state agency came in here and said, I'll give you guys everything you want, what would that look like? Right? And I think we should create that list of asks, and then whether we do it, you know, I don't know what it looks like, maybe they come and they present to us, or, you know, another form. But we invite state agencies in to tell us about their programs, so we get a better understanding, but then we throw out our ask, right? We go like, is there any, you know, possibility that you can create an MOU with the police department, so some of these programs can get, you know, to the individual that the police recommend? Is there, you know, or the Nonviolence Institute, is there, you know, ability, to, you know, give us 5% of your enrollment, right? For, you know, these individuals the Nonviolence Institute's already working with, right? So I think that's what I think we should come up with some asks, because I know I have someone teed off in my agency that will come and give a presentation, right? But if I go to her and I say, hey, they need this, blah, blah, she's like, you know, like, that's like, what do you work, you know, it doesn't mean the same as if we're all at the table and we're like, hey, Jess, you know, this is extremely important to these kids, can we get this, right? And then I think once we kind of get the state agencies, and kind of, you know, city decide like what initiative, what can we do at the city level to help as well? Then I think we ask the private sectors, the unions, to come and we say, hey, they were able to put this on the table, the city put this on the table, right? You know, we've dedicated this time, you know, money, commitment, whatever. Can you guys do this, put some on the table too?
So I think what's still confusing me is, I'm still trying to figure out is, how is this system already in place? Like, how are we already connecting all of these different organizations and, you know, individuals, so that we have it already set up in one system? Because as
We're
of
not.
right now,
We're not.
right?
That's what it is.
So,
It's very
like,
simple. We're not. It's word of mouth. We're not.
right.
That's the honest answer. We're not set up. So we have to get it set up
That's-
to even make that
that's it.
work.
What,
It's not.
for, I guess, the folks that know about, a little bit more about like CBI and other cities, like what systems do they have in place? PJ?
So isn't like, what I'm kind of describing is like here, right, PJ?
Yeah, I think. To be honest, I think all cities struggle with the same thing. I don't think there's a centralized system where I think there's plenty of agencies that have like a youth, well, there used to be a youth opportunities guide. I don't even know. I don't remember who used to put that
I
out,
remember that, yeah.
but there used to, you know, used to be. And then it was like, I think we had to pay to get it. So it was like, why, you know, it hurt the nonprofits even trying to look at it, if I recall right, but. And I don't remember if that was United Way. You know, I think that's something like a United Way would be interested in helping, like this kind of like guide.
Yeah.
I don't think getting youth names, putting them into a database and then having them, you know, be matched that way. I think that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
I do think and to be frank, and I understand what I'm about to put egg on my own face, I guess. You know, the survey that that I'm trying to get out the door at the AG's office is meant to collect this kind of stuff, this information. There's just been a few things that have happened in between that and
A few.
you know, this, so, but that's the goal, like, that's part of it, is like, we gotta understand where the opportunities are. I think around this table, we have a really good sense of where it is, but I can't tell you what's in one socket, and I can't tell you, you know, and I think it's valuable for this committee to understand that, because our kids are transit.
Yeah.
You know, and if they are spending, you know, if they're attending public schools, but they're spending a lot of nights in one socket, they should have a connection someplace. And vice versa, and although keeping it Providence centered, I think we understand I think we know of a lot of programs, it's just a matter of figuring out who to put it, you know, put it on paper and then making it accessible.
Yes.
I think United Way would be interested in something like
Mm,
that. And they have, I would say, a connection to probably almost every nonprofit, so
Correct.
maybe that's, if I can skip to 4 and just assign myself the task of, I will contact United Way and we'll have a conversation about what that looks like. I really don't remember, does anybody remember who did I think it was United Way who did the youth
I
opportunity.
believe so, because Nancy Walonsky actually has the alliance. with
The nonprofit alliance, yeah, that's
yes.
brand new, that's like 5 years now or something.
Right, so she'd be good.
So I-
person to
yeah.
start with.
I think that's something like I will take that on for this committee to just do that. And I know, and that goes to the state agencies too. Need to get that out too, so I will. Deadline is good.
I think your question is the best question, and I think that's the key piece, is to get a booklet of all, information for parents and kids to be able to see if they need any type of help. It doesn't matter if it's mental illness, it doesn't matter if it's a rec center, nonprofits, all that should be in a booklet for parents and also kids to be able to have. That's the important.
I
think
mean,
that's important.
if we're talking where to put our, I mean,
Absolutely.
maybe there's a way to integrate the city's,
What
is it?
Book.
your 311. You know, maybe to make sure that there's a youth section in the 311 that just
Right.
like, hey, you're looking for youth resources, here where all the rec departments are, here's what's in your neighborhood, maybe, I don't.
So that's another plus for United Way, because we have the 211 that has already began to collect
Yeah.
that information.
I feel like I feel like there's gotta be somebody that has a lot of this already, it's just a matter of finding it all, putting it into one spot and making it accessible.
Yeah.
But if we, like, I know we have the 311, we have the 211, there are those things that already exist, and maybe it's just, I make this sound way too, maybe IT can switch a switch, there's a page, you know, but then it's on, then I would say it's on this committee to publicize that
Yeah.
to the nonprofits, to the schools, to the recs, and just making sure that the resources of this table are pushing that. Hey, we have this resource, you need to use it.
Right, those
And
like
maybe
warm,
track.
I
maybe
think
there's
those
a
like
tracking
warm
system.
handoffs are like incredibly important, like it's pointless just publishing it and letting it sit on a
But
website.
maybe it's also some, you know. Maybe this is just, I'm just throwing out ideas here, but maybe there's like something, I know when. Nonprofits do business with the city in terms of grants and contracts, you have to have. It's the workforce thing, what do they call it? You know, you have to, yeah, it's like it's the hiring thing, what's it called?
Well, you have to like a.
You have to,
army stuff.
yeah, you have to post positions and things like that, like
Oh,
maybe it's like a requirement. That you have to track if your youth came in through a city portal, you know? I don't know, but I just, like, I think these exist, I think we just need to get a little focused on where, you know, where we can pull some of this together. And I'll take the first step and contact me right away.
And I think that's like an important note is like, we sit around this table and this has happened a handful of times and, you know, as the chair, I'll definitely take responsibility for it, but like, we have these like really good conversations, ideas. And then we all get busy in our own worlds and then the next thing happens and we're back at point A, so like we need to do some type of organizational work, in between meetings, and like that's definitely on me and the chairs and our staff to, keep moving in the right direction.
Subcommittee vote.
That's it.
But
I do wanna make a suggestion though, like what Mike is saying. That whether it's this meeting or the next meeting, we make that a goal. I know we established a mission statement, but. I think it could be helpful to like say, what do we want our outcomes to be? And I think outcome that's reasonable and attainable is, supporting nonprofits and community-based organizations and coordinating resources. So young people, at-risk individuals, have access to those resources and then publicize that.
so anyone else have anything on this topic?
So is that like, should I put that as a to-do for me?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. But, yeah, I mean, obviously you wanna coordinate, with like Miguel or someone or staff.
Diana.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can coordinate with Diana. She's exactly
Alright,
You might not need a subcommittee if more people took on to do's and put it on.
Right.
I said you might not need a subcommittee if people,
take numbers, yes.
yeah. You might not need it.
Yeah, calling everyone out here. We heard,
He's on a task.
we heard.
Actually, I think I just got,
Maybe.
now I'll do, it. And by next meeting, I'll have an update. I do think this information exists, we just need to get it centralized to your point. And just get it, make it accessible somehow and advertise that kind of.
What was the book called before you said?
It was called the Youth Opportunities Guide.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
and it was a pain every year because people would ask us, no, didn't I already use this? But as soon as it went away, we were all like,
That's
what
what.
the hell happened to the guy?
That happens, that collaboration.
And we just created at DOT a youth resource guide for employment and training.
Okay.
And we found it's been a hit, right? It's like, people love it, and I'm literally like trying to do my job, and people are emailing me like, you send 40 more, can you drop off 100? So,
Is that online?
yeah,
What's
it's
it called?
online and it's physical.
What is
It's
it?
called the Youth Resource Employment and Training Guides.
I also think I think we should work on this and have a standalone resource, but the city does have like a neat playbook, for example, like. Once that registration form goes out, I will, set up the partners, including like NPI, J. And so they can share information about, programs that sort of either directly do CDI or support at-risk youth, so those are already like platforms and outlets that exist, and you can just continue to really elevate the work that organizations are already doing on those platforms as well, and for the return to local control. The city has 8 metrics from the Turnaround Action Plan, and we have resources that and community programs that directly address and work on achieving those 8 metrics. And there is some overlap. So I think there are also models like, we could just have like, if we want to sort of say printing costs, we could just have this on a page like on the city council website or something like that. Like in addition to like compiling the resources, like what we
I want a
want.
physical copy of something.
But it's cheaper to put it online, more accessible.
Yeah, and it might even be, because you can text 211, right? Yeah, I think that's the best solution. Everybody got a phone, everybody, you ask me to text someone something versus you ask me to like. Take this in my hand and read it. It's it's two
I think
different things.
I think-
Definitely.
I'm a text person.
So I'm mad you might do this. But I think I think what comes down to it is, okay, then what's our communication plan to get this stuff out?
Yeah.
Like case in point, like I know that this stuff exists, it's just that we're in silos, and we need to just make sure that we're sharing this information, so. I think maybe this is. Next meeting, I'll have an update, but then I think it's like, what is our communication plan to get these resources out?
I think if it makes sense, I mean, unless there's any like communication experts around the table, I definitely am not one. Although I am doing a communication cohort, it's not finished yet. I think it makes sense to bring communication members from the mayor's team and from the council office around the table and have them be part of the conversation as well. Do you need a motion on anything? Okay. It's a to-do task. For, no, Miguel, we communicate that to our comms and then I think I asked the mayor's.
Just one, I was just telling, just one comment I want to make is like, I know that we use the word, at-risk kids. I think all the kids is at risk.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just think that we should make sure we understand that every kid is at risk, doesn't matter what zip code, how much their mother or father makes, they all are at risk, it doesn't matter. So I just think that we should just make sure we understand that it's not just, kids that live in Southside or live in Tola, it's, so just so we know that.
It could be as easy as making sure every place that serves youth has flyers on the wall with a QR code.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's an issue that exists on the, because you got two sides to me, right? You got my policy side that's saying, no, targeting is important. But then you got my like elected official side, I represent the east side, and on the east side, we get, alienated from a lot of services. Because you look at the zip code and it looks a certain way, and then you go into, the neighborhoods in Mount Hope and it don't look the same way that zip code looks. And so that's where data can be deceiving, and you're right.
That's, I'm just, I didn't want to just, think it's important, that's all, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and also, I think I spoke about it at the last meeting, but I'm working with, Representative Jennifer Boylan. I'm not sure if the bill will be ready this year. I'm encouraging her to write, we're writing a bill that's gonna do, anywhere from like a 6 to a 12% tax on guns, ammunitions, and shooting ranges, and gun clubs memberships. And the money would go into CDI, into the Public Safety Grant Administrative Office, to, help with some of that coordinating work. I'd be interested, it doesn't have to go that way, right? Love you, Raymond and Mike, but it doesn't have to go that way. My logic in that was that if this was to raise, 800 to 1.2 million, that money can be better spent helping them coordinate their, like 60 million, that they have get over the years, federal dollars to be better spent for these type of initiatives. And so like my thinking is make the entity that already has all this money more efficient with this money, and then give us a type of position or role that could, report back to cities, police departments that can support this work. I'm open to suggestions on, maybe that would be better with a community-based organization. Maybe that money would be better with United Way. I'm not sure on the precedence of like state restricted funds going to a non-state agency, but it could also be a grant program that goes right back to the CBOs. So I'm interested in folks' thoughts on that, and certainly will invite Jennifer Boylan to come and talk and hear from you. I know she's a gun rights activist, a gun violence activist, but she's like, she knows, she doesn't know a ton about this information, right? So she's looking for folks like us to support her in crafting it, and then also support her in advocating for it when it hits the legislature.
So we kind of went through this agenda, but
Very efficient.
we'll do a point one, we'll do one bullet point next time, which is everything. Does no one else have anything they wanna bring up, mention, talk?
I know we have one action item for topic, but are there any other action items?
Great question.
For. Sorry about the button, are there other action items for the rest of the group?
Any other action?
Do you think we should, PJ, we should probably have those conversations first before like discussing like a communications plan, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
I have something I want to add. I'm coming out my way down here. And I was thinking about my childhood as a young black man in the city growing up. And we had.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. It's like,
Don't age young.
like 13 years. But anyway, I'm coming down here and I'm thinking, coming to this meeting, having this conversation. And I'm thinking about all the opportunities, particularly during the summer, that we had from different parts of the city, different neighborhoods and communities, and we all converge in the southern part of the state for summer camp for 2 weeks overnight. And I believe that money came out of Camp Cronin Junior Police Camp, Camp Davis through the Y. I believe most of that money for those facilities, at least for Point Junior Police Camp. Camp Cronin was funded, the money, I think the money came out of DEM. Because DEM owned those sites.
Hmm.
So what kind of money
The
does
city,
DEM
the
have?
city owns.
Right, but,
Okay,
okay,
The
now,
city- Yeah,
but
they,
it always-
we always own, we always own, we always.
but for some reason, DEM came to my mind in terms of funding source.
Yeah, DCAM, so when I was working in the Gov's office, we were trying to evaluate all the state-owned properties. And a lot of challenges came up, but what the conclusion was is that there's an extraordinary amount of state properties and 80% of them aren't being used. I think some of the challenges is that some have asbestos, some need to be knocked down. A lot of them, the city owns the land and the state owns the building, like, so there's all these trickeries that come with it, but for that reason, it's been kicked down the road. But if there was some will and a way, those state buildings could, I mean, we were looking at it for housing, right?
Right.
But it could greenery, parks, like you name it, there's all type of untapped potential around the entire state. That could be used,
I mean, it's unused spaces.
yeah.
We
have it by your place, the old fire.
The old
station.
fire station, yeah, but I'm like, okay, so how, what kind of pot of money that's accessible for something that we might want to develop out of DEM? What are they sitting on over there? That's really where I was going, with that thought, as we shop around and we think about accessing money from different resources, whether it's state, city, like this department's in the state.
They just loaded, yeah,
Loaded.
yeah.
I mean, what does the state police have to say about helping the CBI issue in the city,
Right,
the capital city, like, come on. What does Providence police, besides using these officers for some of the mentorship?
Yeah.
What pot of money is the Providence Police and Fire sitting on for, that they get through whatever they confiscate? I don't know how that works, but I know for sure that they got certain pots of money that should be used for a public health and safety intervention program.
Well, that's another action. I'll do some more research on Baltimore. And the police thing that they did and see like how that happened, union, and like how that negotiation went down.
Well, I think, Robert, that kind of goes back to Corey's point of like having some of these state issues come in, but we gotta, I think having understanding of what they have is one part, but like what is our ask, because we don't wanna have them here and us not have a pretty straightforward ask.
Well, I mean, in terms of accessing the law enforcement pots of resources, I think the two officers should volunteer to do that work. And PJ volunteered to do whatever he's doing.
Yeah, bring it back.
That way we avoid subcommittees.
And I think that you can. You mentioned all the nonprofits.
I'm just saying, let's go to work here.
I know what you're saying. So I'll give you all. Can we put that, Rob?
Put it down, put it down.
Is that work that is happening in Baltimore? Is that, if that has anything to do with like, the Eisenhower Foundation or anything like that?
I know, that's a good question.
I just asked because years ago when I was with housing, we did some work with them, but that was through a grant. And through that grant, we were able to, myself and my partner at the time, were able to be at the rec center. And we provided programs and we were actually just a part of the program and going through the activities with the police and things like that, but that was through a grant.
Right, well, no, their program is revenue, theirs is revenue neutral, so they just, it was with the existing revenue. That they just repurposed those officers' roles.
So you just take somebody who would otherwise be on patrol.
Right.
And this is what you do.
Reassign them, give them some training, yeah.
Okay.
And it was still, so the community-based organizations were still working with them, right? So they were, carefully delineating where you intervened, where I intervened. But they just took 8 officers, took them off patrol, took them out of the uniform, gave them some training, and then, it's almost, it's almost like SROs, but for.
In my very limited ability to speak for the police department, I will say that right now, that would probably be very difficult.
Yeah.
Because you take our school resource officers, for example, we're short there, we're down to 5.
Right.
At one point, that unit was, I think, 15.
Yeah.
So I don't know manpower wise right now how that would look for us. I don't know. I know that patrol is short. I know that we're short in several of our investigative views,
But-
things like that.
And, respectfully, but the challenge is that CVI has a higher correlation to reducing violence, so you're short on the numbers you want, but if a change will bring higher yields, right, but I understand, I know there's the politics at play, so that's when the mayor's office and the unions will have to negotiate and find, something that's comparable across the board, and I think that's how it was with Baltimore, where they gave them, some type of carrot and stick situation, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, Stephen, was there a challenge or battle in your position being created?
Let's not go there. Yeah, I mean, so the community engagement bureau that we had.
I can't believe you asked that.
I know.
No,
No, but it's funny, it was a battle, but you know what, it all works out, everything works out, so it worked out, and.
It's gonna be tough conversations.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be tough conversations around this table.
Exactly.
We're not gonna go into it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right, it's true, I mean, it was a big issue, it was a big issue, but, me being a director of community, engagement is great, because honestly, you'd be able to get officers like him to be able to go and do community events, right?
Right.
I won't tell you, I don't have a staff, like I have one staff member, but I don't have a core group of officers that's just mine.
Yeah,
You know what I'm trying to say? I don't have that, and that's where
yeah,
that would be great if we were able to do that, but I can tell you, honestly, the numbers are low. So it's like a point where you have to be able to like work what's important. Yes, this is important, and we're glad that we're going to have another academy getting ready to start pretty soon, so hopefully we can possibly, talk about that later on, but what we're doing now in the service that we're giving to the community is great.
Right.
Can it be better? Always can be better, right? It always can be better, but what we're trying to do and what I'm trying to change and keeping that bridge with the community and the police, it's been really working well, all right? We're having less complaints about the police, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not, no one will say that, but we're having less complaints. That don't mean we're perfect, it doesn't mean we're gonna be perfect, but at least they have the community has an air of someone who can help them through certain situations. I can't help them through them all, but there's some situations I can help through, but I also can help the community to make sure that their relationship, especially at the rec centers, they're in the rec centers. Especially at the community centers, and I'm trying to keep that going to all the events in the spring and the summer. We're trying to get them out there, and I gotta tell you, the colonel's been great. They give me anyone I want, anytime I need them, we're out there in the community. But no, I do not have a specific group of officers in my group.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think that's like an important conversation that we should have, with the chief and mayor's leadership team is seeing other cities that there's, data behind it, and that's something we can bring and at least explore. I think that's like the biggest disservice that, local government sometimes does, like, we don't even try sometimes to see, like, we know, it might not happen, everyone has budget constraints, there's a lot of what is at the national level, but I think it's our duty as civil servants to try our best to at least intentionally explore what these types of programs might look like.
I mean, we mentioned other large cities. I mean, it just came to my mind that I think we could probably reach out to Boston and ask what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
They're right next door.
PJ got some connections. PJ connected to every city. He acts so humble. I went to that CDI conference with him, and he knew everybody's not trying to get
excited something else.
Yeah, I'm giving another.
Yeah, but I mean, Boston, I mean,
Get someone to phone in to us.
There's resources. There's a community center to
Yeah.
communities. And Like or
Baltimore
not,
thing is a
like or
little-
not, law enforcement is not seen as a true partner in this work yet.
Right.
In cities, some cities around it, it is. I am very curious to see if it's actual patrol officers that have become CBI interrupters. Wow.
Right, because,
Because that is I am very curious to see what that is,
yeah,
to be frank.
Mm.
no, it is, some people would say it's taboo. What
I would say it's
Baltimore
more
did.
So this may be, possibly helpful for our next discussion, but, just to kind of touch on what Michael was saying as far as, with the youth, what does the lens look like for the summer months?
Was it what?
The lens look like for the summer months coming with the youth? Because I know that we had a discussion of like, you know, we were thinking about what type of resources we could provide for them, you know, what's going on in the city, but like you said, it's cold now, and that's why we haven't really seen any kind of like havoc. So what are we looking at for these summer months coming?
You're saying the temperature, like, are we anticipating a bad summer?
Well, how you.
No, how, what are we, preparing for that?
So on it, I can tell you what's happening now.
Mhm.
I know this for a fact, because I've been told, I went to the meetings. All the schools downtown, we had visit, me and the new lieutenant, we had visit all the schools, and we asked them for their support when the spring comes, are they gonna support Kennedy Plaza when kids are getting out? So we've been asking for that help. Then there's gonna be a security meeting that they're gonna have, I think, the end of March, to be able to talk to all the schools downtown, all the charter schools downtown, and the one on Elmwood Avenue. Is that Achievement First on Elmwood?
Yes.
Achievement First,
Mhm.
bring them all in and to talk about what our game plan is, how can they help? Now, the thing is, we can't do Providence Public Schools, because honestly, at the end of the day, they run their own. The state runs it, so we don't really, I mean, we can ask them to come, but that don't mean they're gonna come, you know what I mean? But the charter schools all signed on saying, we're willing to help downtown, they're willing to
When is
help,
that training?
huh?
When
There's
is
a
it?
meeting
Meeting, when is it?
at the end of March, I will let you guys know the date, I will.
Yeah, maybe me and some other school board members can try to see if we can
Yeah.
get Rye to.
If you could, that'd be great, and that's.
No
why-
promises.
No, I said it would be great, but that's the whole game plan, is that we've been doing, I can tell you, they've been working on this all winter, trying to get this, trying to make sure that, Kennedy Plaza be safe down there, you know?
There is-
Put that
there is a
plan
plan.
Was that?
There is a plan in motion.
Yeah.
for that to answer your question.
Yeah.
Who
Yes,
put that plan together, Mike?
huh?
Who put that plan together?
Me and Lieutenant Potter.
Okay.
Lieutenant Potter, he's a new lieutenant down here, and we just, like I said, you know, we just gotta talk, we gotta constantly talk to people, like, we need help. Oh, and just talk to AS 220, we had a conversation with them too, and they're willing to help too. Yeah. So it was all, I mean, Lieutenant Potter did a great job getting that done.
Yeah.
You know what, we can have him come to the next meeting, so we can tell you some stuff that we can.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm like thinking, is like, there's people in the city that definitely should be in front of this group,
Yeah.
like just Director, Rec, like Stevens, like he should. Been in front of us already at this point and speak to us about what the rec department is doing.
Right.
That lieutenant.
Yep.
I think for that would be helpful to have for us, maybe at our next meeting, to come with like the names or departments that we'd like to present, and rather than having each team present individually, we could just have one session where we have like a panel of 3 to 4 or 5 departments, and that would
Yeah.
also, you know, it's better to see like what overlap there exists in the work that they're already doing, but also identify gaps.
Right, yeah, because I know Parks does incredible amount of programming in the summer too, so.
Yeah.
So does that, let's try to like, we've talked about a lot today, so let's try to get, some thoughts down for our next agenda probably is where we're all at. So PJ will provide us an update.
Something.
Or something. Do you guys think we should have, those departments come next meeting? I think it's,
Yes.
So which departments are they?
so Rec, Parks. What other departments do we think?
Human services?
Who?
Human services?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the,
Human
facility
service.
community development that runs the summer
Housing?
jobs?
The what?
Who runs summer jobs?
Oh, economic development. I
We should
mean,
have
so
that.
technically, the policy team runs summer jobs, but I think economic development would get bigger.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I think that's good. I'll do some research about Baltimore, see, you know, as much detail as I can find.
I'm gonna be in Baltimore this weekend.
Pull up to Brandon Johnson, I mean, no, that's the other, Brandon Scott.
I'm not gonna time,
Brandon.
please stop. But there may be some folks
Make sure you
in the space that I'm in. You know, so I'll have my antennas up now to do some networking if I don't stop.
Yeah.
No, for real,
I
yeah.
feel like Robert should have to go. Small. Find out what's going on.
What else? Is there anything else that we should get on our, so I think Robert was saying, or was it Michael was saying something about, what are the outcomes?
Yeah, he was saying that, our goal should be, to allocate, to find the resources that exist for youth and, publicize, make that available in one area, and publicize it.
So is that different from what PJ is?
No, that's exactly what it is. That's just the goal, the overarching goal, and I think that to have a goal for our group would be really useful, and if that's the only thing we get done, I think that would be something worth doing. So I think we could add different goals in the future, but it'd be useful to adopt that goal and then to at least focus on that and before we add something else.
Yeah, I think we should have, like a confirmed explanation of how the system is actually gonna be, implemented and how it's gonna work. So for
Yeah.
instance, as I said, like, starting with the schools and the recreation centers and, families, hospitals, whatever we need to bring in, how are we gonna collaborate all of them into one system?
Yeah.
Instead of like being expert over there where this person's doing this and, you know, we're not really connected.
Do you think the best way is to invite them to a meeting and ask them what can they do to help what we're planning to do? And they can tell us, like, if the rec center comes and say, hey, we can do this.
Yeah.
And we have that down, and if say the hospitals come in and say, hey, we can help you with this.
Yeah.
I think we need people to tell us what they can do, not us ask them, they can tell us what they can give us, I think it's important, not us telling them
Right.
what they can do, right? I think we need to ask them what they can give us.
Mhm.
So I think in order to do that, we, you know, we all have different like networks and stuff, so definitely if you have like, you know, your relationships with certain people, like at a hospital or something, like definitely get those introductions started and, you know, I think some of like the bigger groups, like it makes sense to have them present, but I think if it's me, you, a staff member and a vice chair, meeting, and so we can start compiling all that and then presenting, just because just in terms of, feasibility to get all these entities out, in here in the middle of the day, once a month, we're gonna be here for a couple years. We get going.
Well, we go to the top priority ones.
Yeah, so I think the top priority ones definitely bring them before
The
the.
table, yeah, and then the little ones, we can have smaller conversations and bring it together, yeah. But I think you're right, Diana, I think I could show like the different types of coordinated systems, policy wise. So we can kind of think more about that,
Right.
because there's a policy would say that coordinated is the best, but then, you know, if you ask anyone who went through the coordinated entry system, they'll be like, you gotta wait forever, blah, blah, blah,
Exactly.
right? And then, like, we kind of already have a decentralized one that doesn't have like a mother, like a home, like a, you know, overarching place. Yeah, so I can try to put that together.
Does March 26th work for you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, gotta know with PJ, so. Does March 19th work for you, PJ? No.
The 20th. 20th, 21st.
Does April 2nd work for you?
Yeah, that would work.
So April has 5 Wednesdays, so if you guys, wanna just think to have it the first and the last Wednesday, that could probably work. So we have some work to do between them two.
Are we skipping March? Is that what?
Until March 26th, right? No.
Probably not, BJ can't make it, I kinda. Can't make it on second.
Yeah, March 2nd.
No.
April second?
April 2nd. TJ and I have the same colors that might as alternate.
I can't make it on the second either.
I mean, the 26th,
The ninth, we're gonna have a lot of stuff to go over then. If that's the case.
Does the 26th work for everyone else?
When?
Of March.
so the
Works with me.
26th would work,
26th. Right?
is there any way to do it like earlier?
Yeah, 10 more.
9:30, 10?
Can't
What, can you do that?
Sorry.
Problem is,
No one apologize, like, we all have very busy schedules, you know, this is.
or 3:30.
26 at 3:30, does that work for folks? Would that work for?
We are here to serve you, sir.
Why can't everyone be as busy as going as
Who
you?
said no? 3:30?
I said we get served.
26?
30
Well, what's your-
works for me.
No,
Works for me.
26, yeah.
Yeah.
3:30 works for me.
All right,
Yes, yes.
30 it is. March 26th.
March 26th, 3:30?
That's
perfect.
So we'll make sure to get that to the rest of the committee members ASAP so they can put it on their calendars. Yeah, I don't have anything else, does anyone else? Or-
Yeah, I'm gonna say, are we good with, are we gonna have Lieutenant Potter come here that day?
Yeah, I think the goal is to get
Just so I
him,
can get put on his calendar, that's why. Okay.
him and the other 4 or 5 city folks to, you know, it shouldn't be more than like 5,
Okay.
max 10 minutes of them sharing, maybe 5, maybe 7 minutes, max. Does anyone from the public have anything they would like to share?
Of course I did.
Go ahead, Val.
I want to address something Diane said about a friend. I'm a retired educator, a master's degree in education. I've had the privilege of working in some wonderful school districts, in one wonderful one for many years. It was pretty functional, and I've worked in dysfunctional situations. Okay, where the school district was messed up at the moment. If the child is the center of the services, somebody's nodding their head at me already. If the child is the center of what we're doing, and we follow that young person and navigate with them through the different kinds of services that they're going to be exposed to, hopefully, in the best possible world, a guidance counselor is at their elbow. In some charter schools, it's not gonna happen, but there might be a parent teacher or parent administrator. In our current public school system in Providence, I'm sorry for it. Not always gonna happen, it's not always gonna be coordinated, but ideally, there are some adults in the school system. And they're gonna be interacting with that kid, and that's where this all gets connected. So whether it's a directory of these resources, or it's, you all are thinking about how we talk to each other. And I'm taking it, I can't take that teacher hat off, that's on my head forever. I'm thinking about where the kid is moving through life and how they get connected out to all of you. And I think that might be a better framework. But that's just me. And so my second thing then, and part of that is wellness. Because the guidance counselor in a functional school district has access to make sure that child is well, that that child has health care benefits, Medicaid, whatever they can get for them, for a local clinic or whatever. And that child without that safety net, we know from CBI that from research that that's one of the big risk factors is when these kids don't have access to mental health and they don't have access to physical health benefits. And anyway, the second thing that emerged when I was listening to all of this today is who else do we talk to? What other cities can we talk to? How do we get networked in with the other cities that may have actually attempted this? And my answer to that is Brenda Giffords. I think at least two of you have Brenda Giffords. And I know I went to every town in 2023 and I asked a million questions. Every town has a staff called CBI. Diana has access to them. And Lisa has access to them. They will do Zooms and meetings with you guys, and they will pull in people that they have worked with before. So I know they work with Kansas City. I don't know who else comes to mind right off the top of my head. But there are municipalities that have attempted these kinds of things before. And they should hook you up with those other cities that have attempted things that you have these questions for. So you don't have to invent all of that for yourself. And that's pretty much it. And you're doing it right. This is a seriously, having a dedicated group of people caring about kids. What's all that.
Thank you.
Question,
Yeah.
are you aware if there's a, in the city of, in PPSD with the guidance counselors in the schools?
Never worked here.
All right, well, my question would have been, is there anyone that has any knowledge of a guidance counselors association or group? Like, is there?
Yes, there's a group, there's a
Yeah.
professions. So.
So in the city, there's gotta be a space where all of the guidance counselors meet.
Yeah.
So my sister was the head of guidance at Central, so that's where, as soon as you mentioned that, that's why I was shaking my head.
And in servicing,
Right,
they should.
I know what
meet
she
every
did.
year, not just once in a while, you know, and if you have new updates on the service directory,
Right.
that's when they get their update on the service directory, whatever. And that child should have a written plan of action. In the functional school district, they do have one and I have participated.
Even in dysfunctional school districts, there are good kind guidance people.
What you made me think about. What you made me think about though is that, RIDE says that PPSD has access, like all kids have access to virtual therapy. So if that's the case, because three components, with some of the three most important components of CBI, mentorship, therapy, and employment, right? If that's the case, then maybe we already have resources we can tap into. And, you know, because, you know, and we can use that as a bargaining chip when you guys have negative interactions with youth, right? Like, you know, sign up for this, go talk to this person, and you don't gotta worry about anything, but you better show up to those meetings, right? So I'm gonna check in with Ryan and see if we can access that therapy, because that changes the game. Because right now at DLT, we used to send people to what was the Interfaith Coalition? They did like therapy, the Interfaith Coalition, and I don't know, I think they like shut down or something, because their website doesn't work, nothing. But they used to get free therapy.
Appreciate your.
Yeah, thanks.
I ran out of it.
Are you, Raymond, you good, you have anything, thank you, Miguel, you have any updates? You get back there, thank you. Yeah, something that like, you know, thought right when Mal started speaking is like, we should, you know, invite a different or maybe the same youth. To the table and to be part of these conversations. Maybe like reach out to like House Student Union, see if they want a representative, like obviously like probably non-voting. Maybe rotating one just to make sure that there's
We should have Naya to that young lady who ran for school board. To talk to the debate.
Does anyone else have anything that they would like to, add to the conversation? Thank you all very much for being here. Oh, okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right, everyone.
See you. Running water.
Yeah.